onto Dan. Really, really struggled with it. Obviously, so good from Lasagna, and Dan on that Zinzao getting shut down really, really early. Jarvan coming out as well. A lot on the board right now, Blood Penguin. What's going to be coming through FM's mind with this first pick?
There's a huge amount. Every single mid lane champion is now open for FM and for Choke. So now we start to see things rather than, you know, RFM going to pick up a priority with Choke picking up even 2 more, you know, another one as well on that when they get the second rotation of picks. So FM really need to make sure that they get this first pick absolutely right. They may go with the mid lane, might pick up a Syndra or a Xerath. I'm not quite sure where they want to go with this.
When FM have won, what have we seen has been the overriding factor in their team comps? Usually it's been Tundra on a big impact top laner. When we saw him as Vladimir, he was a massive impact going into the top lane. He was so big at that point that he could basically do enough damage with his pure aggression to force them back. When he was on Gnar, he controlled those team fights. It was all about Tundra, making sure that he had the control through CC, but they're going to go for Dan's Lee Sin. They're going to revert him back onto that. Obviously, very unexpected. Tundra was known a while ago for playing Lee Sin top, but Dan likely to be picking up potentially his favorite fullback champion, and we've seen him play it a lot, not only in the Four Nations, but in a lot of the qualifiers building up to it too.
Yeah, and I think Choke, we've seen them on their second rotation of bans. They've secured their ADC quite early, quite a few times, and that's been kind of a good standstone kind of, you know, play for them in a lot of senses, because they are running away with that bot lane a lot of time. Chewed Up, yes, in the second game he wasn't, you know, positioning as correctly, but he was keeping up in CS. He was keeping up with the kind of the Samwise as Ezreal, so it was actually working out fine. We see Lasagna hovering over the Morgana. Oh, the Kayle actually. Kayle might be a potential pick. They're going to go with, no, they're going to go with Zinzao Morgana. Kayle might have been just a little shout out, but it's going to be that jungle for Lasagna is going to be on Zinzao, and a Zodiac getting his very favorite Morgana.
Yeah, Zodiac picking up Morgana again. His bindings were key. They've got a part in that first blood early on for Choke. Really great pickup for them. They know they're going to have that form of engage and catch potential. And how strong was that catch potential team from Choke last time round? It really, really worked wonders for them. And remember, the pressure is on right now. This could be the deciding game for Choke Gaming. And if they go ahead and win it, that's a lot of money in the bank. Dan hovering over Rammus. We haven't seen him play it yet, but we know he has the potential to bring it out.
I don't know if he'll go with it purely for the fact there is a dark shield on the, or a black shield on the side with Morgana, so it's able to kind of nullify his taunt if he goes in with it. But we might see something else coming out. I would imagine that they now know the support. They might try and secure an ADC to try and throw them off a little bit. But we'll have to see it now. They're looking to hover over Janna. Christo hasn't even shown us what he wants to go with. Yeah,
exactly. They probably don't, because the mid lane is such a swing lane for both of these teams. When Alchemist gets going, Alchemist gets going.
LeBlanc.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. They actually let Christo got through picks and bans. He immediately gets the opportunity and locks that in. So this is FM now. They have to make this. This was banned throughout every other game. They have to make this LeBlanc work, and we have to prove why it was been banned.
Ramil was really wanting to pick up that LeBlanc into Xerath yesterday versus FM. Does Christo think he can replicate what we've seen from like the likes of Unicorns of Love, really look to pick that LeBlanc and make a difference with it into the early game? Gonna be a potential Kassadin hovered over here though. Likely has that flex, can go mid and top. What are you expecting?
At the moment, I think they're just going to keep it as a flex. They're going to get chewed up on his ADC, might lock in the Kassadin as you take because it's a flex. It's high mobility, it's got high damage as well towards that late game. But again, you don't know if it's going to be against LeBlanc, and they have to pick, FM will have to pick pretty much their top laner blind into that. And that's something they might have to get sorted with. But they are going to go with Graves looking like, and that's a very strong bot lane.
Strong pickup for Chewed Up as well, because he has played Graves in a lot of the Four Nations group stages and through the tournament at such a high level. Now everyone talks about how good Chewed Up is positionally. Positionally, he's a very, very, very solid AD carry, and Graves, you often need to utilize that positioning to your best ability, i.e., you know, making the most of getting collateral damage off in the right places, buckshot, getting the most advantage out of that in lane, and obviously using quick draw to put yourself into a position where you can really do the damage that you need to, or even escape the damage that could be coming towards you. And Chewed Up is a solid performer on this AD carry. And when I say solid, I mean really solid. Yeah. The guy is so good.
He's a cornerstone of his champ pool right there, and just waiting to see now, Corki being hovered over by Samwise, be a very, very good pick against the Graves, but we are still waiting to see what the top lane will be for Tundra. As I say, he's been targeted a lot of the time. Aurelia's gone, Nara's gone. Mundo didn't really work for him in the first game. Maokai didn't really work for him in the third game. So what are we going to see him? He's only got a couple of seconds, so he has to pick this blind.
They've really, really wanted, and this is something we were expecting to see at some point A lot of the analysts were saying, why hasn't he brought this out yet? Well, it's out right now. Tundra's Lissandra is on the Rift. So there is the flex now for Choke to run that Kassadin either into the LeBlanc or into the Lissandra at top lane. Obviously, with that Null Sphere now providing a shield, can provide a little bit more safety when going up against heavy ranged harassers like Lissandra, but it looks like, now this is going to be interesting, going to wait for Choke to hover over a couple of things before they eventually
get their shout-outs out.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, Lissandra and Kassadin can deal with it. He should technically, though, because of the amount of poke and the cooldown on Lissandra's Q, should get bullied out a little bit too early as well. Might be a Zilean, though, being locked in. That would be a DX on Zilean, with Kassadin going up to Numlocked in that top lane. Still plenty of time, though, to try and switch this around. But again, this could be, as the analyst said, there's so many champions that these guys know, it's nearly impossible to say where it's going.
Exactly, and we haven't seen it for a while. It looks like a Maokai going to be the pickup here, so it will be Alchemist taking Kassadin into the mid lane versus LeBlanc. Have a little bit of reprise from the harass that he could receive with that Null Sphere. Obviously, in general, you'd probably give this over to LeBlanc, especially if he's looking to play very aggressive. Obviously, easy procs of the Sigil of Malice, obviously, because Kassadin has to get into melee range to farm. I'd imagine Kassadin will let this wave push into him, use that Void Blade to try and farm up under tower, and it's going to be Tundra's Lissandra versus Numlocked on Maokai. Numlocked on a champion that he is quite good on, but isn't going to have as much as damage impact as potentially some of the other champions he likes to play in the top lane. Yeah,
and I think the Maokai pick works really nicely. They're looking for those long kind of sustained team fights where he's just constantly tanking damage. They get Alchemist going in and out, getting his cooldowns down as well. Shoot Up should be able to get some nice early and mid-game damage down with the burst along with Zodiac. But again, it's going to be a very interesting. We finally see Tundra bringing out the Lissandra in the top lane. How is it going to fare against Maokai? I'm feeling that, you know, the onus really is on Tundra to force Maokai into awful situations.
Yeah, I mean, Tundra maybe, Numlocked may be looking to combine with Lasagna to put some pressure down onto Tundra. There's always the ability to outplay the Path of Frost if you manage to get the knock-up from the 3-Talon Strike just as he wants to jump to his claw. Always the potential to lock that down, force a flash out, use the Twisted Advance, put a lot of pressure on Tundra. Often you do find when you put pressure on Tundra, he bounces back, he wastes a lot of time, his team can always collapse and take objectives. However, we've seen him on Lissandra a few times before. He's always impactful in team fights, and hopefully we'll see something similar from him this time round.
Yeah, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about to go onto the Rift for Game 4 of this best of 5 series, the final of the 4 nations. This could be the decisive game. Can FM get it from the jaws of death and send us to a Game 5? I apologize for the slight delay, making sure all the players are 100% happy and 100% ready for this Game 4 of the best of 5 series in the Riot Games 4 Nations Tournament. Again, we've seen the picks and bans, talked about it a bit, but are we going to see any level 1 coming out from Choke? We've seen it a couple of times now in this series.
Yeah, exactly. There was some early level 1 aggression, did pay off very well for Choke. Nothing too crazy looking like it's going to happen here. No grouping up. We're going to see normal lane setups too. Everyone going to their respective areas. Dan looking like he wants to get a bit of either aggression or deep vision down on the Choke side of the red jungle as he forces Lasagna a little bit back.
Yeah, we've seen it a couple of times now. We mentioned it yesterday. We do see sometimes Lee Sin's getting that level 2 and immediately going to a buff to try and make sure that they can catch out the enemy jungler. But Lasagna on Xin Zhao got a lot of early game damage, got a lot of good, a little bit of early CC as well. So it'd be a little bit dangerous to do that kind of thing as we see. We've actually seen early sweeping trinkets from Zodiac quite a few times.
Yeah, he looked to clear out that Tribrush ward. He's got a deep ward near the Krugs, so he's going to be able to tell whether Samwise and Billy Fufu do indeed go for that. Either they can choose to invade, or they'll put the pressure down knowing that there's the threat of the invade, take the Gromp themselves, and then have that advantage from that. That's a nice bit of mind games coming out from Choke's bot lane there.
Yeah, and Zodiac hasn't quite decided which one he's going to go with yet, so he hasn't picked the Dark Binding, but I think if they see that, they will go for it. They know that they're going for the Krugs now, so we get a little bit more vision down. Numlocked just going to throw out a sapling to say hi to Dan, back away again. Everything on the line right now. If this goes Choke's way, that will be it. It'll be 3-1. They will be the champions of the 4 nations, crowned the best team within Ireland and the UK. A lot is on the line.
Oh, an early distortion by Christo just to put a bit of pressure on Alchemist. Just saying, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to go aggressive. I want to make sure that I have the advantage in this lane. But we are just seeing normal starts from the bot lane. That ward in the Tribrush does mean that if they saw an invade coming, it would be very obvious. They'd have a time to react. And they are just going to go ahead and take their Gromp and Krugs away.
Zodiac took the Grump
Oh.
Zodiac got the Grump. That's actually a pretty bad mess up there. It's gonna be, I know they share the experience, but still the gold going over to Zodiac, so not a huge amount gained for Chewed Up. Small little mistake. It's going to set up.
I mean, it's a minimal difference, obviously, but you never really want to give that kind of early gold over to your support. But again, the experience is really what matters for those early jungle minions, because you want to make sure you get that level 2. You don't want to be behind on levels either, and really you just tend to go for it because you know your opposing lane will be doing it also, and you don't want to lose the advantage. But immediately, Billy Fufu and Samwise have that level 2 and are looking to zone out the bot lane from Choke.
Yeah, they are doing a fantastic job. Billy Fufu knocking down those auto attacks with that AD shield, able to make sure he's able to keep Chewed Up and Zodiac at a pretty decent distance as they wait to see now if they can get any kind of advantage from this. Zodiac, though, gonna have to be a little bit careful, but at the same time, putting himself in auto attack range means Billy Fufu's putting himself into dark binding range. Yeah,
exactly. And if ever you get outside of the minion waves, you're always going to run the risk of having that dark binding. As Lasagna, we know that he likes to do it. He's going for an early gank here onto Tundra.
Yeah, Tundra has no mana. He's going to have to try and get away from this. Good twisted advance. That's going to be Tundra going down. First blood goes over to Lasagna. Very, very nice rotation there. And Dan left in the bot side of the jungle, just taking his red.
We said we thought it would happen, and a really, really interesting jungle path coming out from Lasagna. Didn't even opt for his blue side of the jungle, just went straight round, hit level 3 from the Krugs, his red, and the Raptors, and then head straight to that top lane and put the pressure down onto Tundra. And we said that's what we potentially saw. We thought Dan is going to go for this blue though, try and make it worth it, but Zodiac knows he's there.
Yeah, Zodiac hit up, but here comes Billy Fufu as well. That's a good monster. Ooh, Howling Gale just about misses. Samwise comes up as well. They're trying to go for this blue buff. I don't think they can, as here comes Chewed Up. He takes a little bit of a burst. So many people now, a lot of cooldowns going to be burned. Nothing too huge though. They end up getting the ward out of there as well. They should be able to secure this blue. Yeah,
they're taking a lot of damage. They're just going to potentially have to back off there. The ward is going to come down. Looks like Dan wants to put the pressure on this blue buff, but the early sweeping trinket means that Zodiac is going to have the vision advantage once again, and it's paying off for them. That early sweeping trinket, you don't usually see it, but working out.
Working out very, very nicely, and see Zodiac just making sure they're completely zoned out, and Lasagna going in for that blue buff again. Dan is not letting this go. He's actually going to jump onto Zodiac. Zodiac going to get hit up by the Howling Gale. He's taking so low. He needs to be so careful, and it's going to be a smite war. Oh, Dan smites too early, but now they got to go back in on top of this. Lasagna taking a lot of harass, forced the flash away. Good dark binding though means Dan cannot continue to aggress, but that means that the support and bot, or support and jungler of Choke have to go back.
Yeah, they won't get too much from it though, as it's nicely pushed up for Chewed Up, and I doubt they'll be going for an early dive onto him at this level, but Chewed Up will have to be careful under turret. Doesn't want to take too much poke. Doesn't want to get forced back either as he waits for Zodiac to return. I really like Alchemist's play into this LeBlanc. Every time LeBlanc looks to distort forwards, get some damage onto him, there is always the potential for return, Netherblade auto attack, return, Null Sphere, try and negate some damage. It's really working out. It's like the way you play into Rumble. Rumble comes into Flame Spitter range, you have that Null Sphere to give you the shield against the Flame Spitter, and you can immediately return with a high impact auto attack with the form of your Netherblade. It's really, really solid, and actually working out okay for Alchemist, who is ahead on CS.
Yeah, Alchemist doing a fantastic job against this LeBlanc, and Lasagna coming back up into this top lane, gets completely knocked out of it, not able to get away. Lasagna takes that one, says thank you very much, another kill goes on the side of Choke.
Again, we talked about it before, 3 Talon Strike into the Path of Frost, you can knock it up before you have the chance to reactivate it, and you saw it there. Tundra just didn't have the ability to get away, and again, being focused down by the Maokai and Lasagna combo. They're coming through with the Xin Zhao, they're getting a lot of pressure onto him, putting a lot of pressure onto Tundra, but got to give it to the guy. Keeping up in CS, I'm always amazed at how Tundra can manage this. 2 deaths and still only 3 CS behind.
Yeah, and we've talked about this so many times now in this series, the junglers between Choke and FM, whoever's the most proactive, whoever's the most kind of engaged really in the fights tends to get their team ahead, and right now it's got to go over to Lasagna. He's been fantastic so far.
I feel like a lot of these games have almost been entirely dictated about how each team's jungler reacts in the early game, and for the majority of the time you've got to give it to Lasagna. He has been aggressive early, he's made the plays. It was that one game where they didn't like playing against Java, probably why it's been on the ban roster since then, and Dan is just struggling to have the same kind of impact. And Lasagna, again, he's picked up the Moby boots, looking to get early map control in terms of the fact he's trying to run around, get into as many lane as possible, get as much gank pressure down. Really, really looking forward to seeing how he looks to play these next few minutes.
Yeah, shoot up with Samwise, but on similar AD carries, high burst, good mid-game power spikes as well from both. See potential, good deck binding actually, not too bad from Zodiac, not able to aggress though any further. As we wait to see now the farming game picking up. It's just under 1,000 gold lead for Choke. Those 2 kills right on top of their jungler means that his early game and mid game are going to continue to scale very, very nicely.
I'm just going to be careful.
He does actually have to be careful. People are trying to start to collapse on top of him. Numlocked. Ooh, Lasagna. He hasn't shown himself yet. They need to be very, very careful about how this goes. Yeah,
and actually I have a lot to say about the fact that Janna pick is quite nice into the Choke lineup. There's not much long-range engage from Choke. You've really got to get in within distance of an audacious charge, of a twisted advance to make your engages effective. And Janna is perfect at combating these short-range engages, especially on moderately high cooldowns like the Twisted Advance. The later you go, the less the cooldown will be, but Monsoon will be really effective at looking to disengage in this mid-game, where you've got to wait for the Audacious Charge and the Twisted Advance before you have that reliable engage.
Yeah, bot lane. A little bit of aggression there from Zodiac, able to keep a little bit of pressure on top. That is a very long chain going on to DX Alchemist, able to keep him CC'd up. He's going to pop through those flasks and biscuits to make sure he's not getting too low, because, you know, Christo, he's on LeBlanc, got a hell of a lot of burst. Yeah, exactly, and Alk hasn't had a chance to finish him. He's going aggressive. Oh, going aggressive. Not really the best idea, but here comes Audacious Charge. They force the flash out of Christo, and here comes Dan. He's trying to go aggressive again, but he's 2v1, and effectively Christo is waiting for his cooldowns. Dan forced the flash as well. LeBlanc going back in. DX Alchemist may actually try bait this. They are going to keep going. Whoa. Oh, nicely done. Barrier coming out for DX Alchemist, able to stay alive, and they get a kill straight onto a Lasagna. I don't like to usually say this, but what was Christo thinking? As Dan gets just picked up by the Null Sphere, he certainly is null in this game, as he is wiped off the Rift at that point. But again, I was trying to see the reasoning where Christo thought that he was going to win that engage. Maybe he was just expecting to go 1-for-1, or maybe he thought the burst from his distortion would have been enough so he could get back immediately. But your jungler was lower, and obviously the burst from Xin Zhao is easier to pull off than the burst from Lee Sin. You've got to hit that skill shot to make it worth it for Lee, whereas click and point for Xin Zhao, Audacious Charge into 3 Talon Strike, and Christo paid the price for that decision. Yeah, definitely did, and that's 4 kills to none right now, and a bit of CS leads pretty much in every lane apart from the bot lane. Samwise doing exceptionally well to keep himself ahead of Chewed Up, but scary, scary times right now for the side of FM. If they lose this, they are completely out. You know, to come so far and yet not far enough, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. They need to start making plays. They do, and actually, really, Dan's got to step it up here, because you just know that Lee Sin is not going to have the same impact as an ahead Xin Zhao, especially as he's going for that Devourer enchant, as it looks like. He did just manage to finish that one up, so that's going to start stacking at 10 minutes into the game. He's going to have a big impact when it comes to damage around these Dragon teamfights, as right now Numlocked even getting the better of Tundra in engages in the top lane. That's all really because Lasagna has had so much pressure across the map right now. Yeah, and Dragon now starting to become a real possibility. We see Chewed Up and Zodiac off Team Choke coming around. DX Alchemist actually positioning himself just to make sure nobody gets caught up. Scuttlebug going to be the point of target. And actually, it's going to be going towards, actually, great little steal there by Samwise, able to keep the vision, and that's guaranteed vision for the side of FM. Nicely done. Yeah, that actually kind of stops that early Dragon pressure they were trying to put down, because you know there's going to be that 75-second period where there is just going to be constant vision around that pit. They won't have the vision control. They'll be able to see where all of their members of their team are, so the engage can be planned out slightly more effectively. So they're going to have to back off from that. Going to go towards that blue and hand it over to Alchemist, who's picked up his Catalyst now. Going to be looking to stack towards that Rod of Ages fairly soon, as Lasagna comes down and sweeps the ward. Not only does that ward sweep, Dan trying to react though, but not only does that ward sweep put pressure on because they may think that he's still there, also baits in the potential gank as Dan moves down, and now they potentially know Dan is there, the pings are coming out, so they're just going to back off, kind of wasting a bit of Dan's time on the map as well. Nice play from Choke. Yeah, and I think Choke, though, the problem they run in at this particular time is if they go back now, and actually they have, immediately FM have moved towards this Dragon. They're going to be able to start taking this. That was a really nice rotation, and actually Choke probably thought they were being smart, but at the same time got completely turned around. No vision on Dragon. That's going to be the first Dragon of the game going down towards FM. Very nice rotations. They're starting to get this back into their favor. Exactly, and actually Choke aren't going to react to this because the bot lane was back at that point. It was an easy take on the Dragon as the FM side was still there, and just a bit of poor decision making, especially with no Dragon control in terms of vision.
Choke just lost out on that one. We know how important these first dragons are at these stages in the game, but Choke do have that little bit of a lead right now. It wasn't even before that dragon, so it's FM trying to get their way back through with that wonderful buff of 8% AD and AP.
Yeah, they're really trying to make sure that they can get that late game scaling going if they do it, because a LeBlanc against a Kassadin is just really not as huge late game as they probably wanted. And we already see now DX Alchemist able to put out a huge CS lead, just over 20. We're waiting for Lasagna. They might go for a dive on this, and diving a LeBlanc is not exactly the easiest thing to do. We'll see how they go. They're going to try and go for this one as he goes, oh, distortion down. Here we go. They're going to jump in straight on top of it. They're going to use the ultimate, or the passive, I should say.
Damn though.
DX Alchemist is going to get taken down. They may get a number of forces to flash from Lasagna, and everything ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. A kill did go over, though, to Lasagna, so Jungler's taking a kill each.
Yeah, and Alchemist obviously picked up a kill. Lasagna picked up a kill, so actually the global gold really in favor of Choke at this point. Dan hasn't had much impact right now. It's going to get him slightly back into the game as he goes for a kick. Yeah,
he goes for the kick, and Lasagna is actually not in tower range. I could see what he was trying to do there, but now Dan is very much on the run. Hasn't got any wards to jump to just yet. Going to use his Q, though, to jump, push him back. Lasagna going to go back and farm the jungle. And right now, though, Choke definitely looking a lot more comfortable than FM.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, though, the bot lane is kind of going in FS favor in terms of CS. There's not really too much happen down there, and often we have seen a lot of pressure put down by both of these teams because neither want their AD carry to get, or the opposite opposing AD carry to get rolling. We've seen how much of an impact Chewed Up can have. We've seen how much impact Samwise can have as Tundra just escapes another little engage in that top lane. And Samwise being on a Corki, which we've seen him play multiple times in this Four Nations tournament, having a great impact, going up against another big impact AD carrier on the side of Chewed Up. You just think that kind of being the formula of what we've seen previously, they'd want to keep doing it, but it's all really centered around the junglers at this point and the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that it's just been kind of one of those things that Chewed Up and Samwise are kind of used to each other. Neither wants to get behind, so keeping even enough with each other while the rest of their lanes, either way, either for Choke or for FM, tend to go in favor. Seems to be the way they like to do it, as we see DX Alchemist getting double chained up and waiting to see nothing too crazy. They're both trying to sustain through this. As Dan waits in the wings of this bot lane, we might see a gank. Oh, here we go. They're trying to go in on top of this. They've used the black shield, so here comes the exhaust. They do not land the Q. It forces the flash away by Chewed Up. That is a summoner down. And that's going to be a successful gank by Dan. He's done the right move as pretty much as perfectly as he could without the flash being there.
Yeah, and right now it's really just tense at this point in time. There's a big swing that could happen in the next few minutes around. And go on to Chriso here.
Yeah, Chriso trying to get jumped on audacious charge. They use the ultimate, but they're trying to go back on top of Lasagna. He's going to get stunned up on the turret. That's a great little kick there. They're going to be able to take that kill to shut down. Could have went over to Chriso, and you feel like that's the person it should have went over to. Chriso just jumps in and gets a little bit of a null spear to the face and has to run back out. But that was a big, big play by Dan, and he's not done yet.
Yeah, exactly. Going on to Alchemist. Alchemist going aggressive here. Zodiac in the backline, though.
Yeah, Zodiac going to come in. He's using the Soul Shackles, trying to get something. They get one kill. DX Alchemist nearly going down. Oh, they get the lockdown. He's going to get the Catalyst coming up as well. He leveled up, able to keep that going. And Zodiac comes to Alchemist's rescue. They end up getting a kill without trading one back.
That was so much trust in Zodiac to land a brilliant binding, and also that ultimate coming out from him. That was calculated by Alchemist. So brilliant there. Picks up a kill, made the best of a bad situation. But again, previously, great binding by Chriso under tower. Lasagna really paid for that aggression right there. Potentially should have backed off as soon as he got to that turret range, but obviously they weren't expecting Dan to make another timely counter gank in that mid lane. He's been stepping up his pressure and being able to react to Lasagna's plays. Dan definitely on the right track to sort of keep his team in the rolling for this one.
Yeah, we see now two huge items picked up by the AD carries, an Infinity Edge for Graves, or for Chewed Up on Graves, and a Trinity Force for Samwise. Means that both of these guys are hitting some pretty nice mid-game spikes.
Yeah, definitely. That Rod of Ages and Sorcerer's Shoes finished up. Just the Athenes right now on Chriso. Chriso definitely struggling on the LeBlanc. We haven't really seen too many decisive LeBlanc plays from anyone that's sort of picked her up this weekend, but Chriso still has the chance to make an impact. But at 0-3-2, he's really looking to struggle, and Alchemist, you know, he's always going to have an impact on most of the champions that he ends up playing.
Yeah, and I feel like Choke were banning out this LeBlanc almost religiously in the before this game, and right now it's not done everything that we expected it to do. It hasn't been very impactful. He's 0-3-2, so and behind in CS, he's not really doing what is expected of him, especially with such a high priority ban in the previous games.
And so far, we haven't actually seen a teleport big team fight around Dragon up in 40 seconds. That is something that we could be looking towards. We haven't seen Tundra have the impact on this Lissandra just yet. There's the Rod of Ages on Numlock too. He has a lot of gold behind him. And Tundra, interestingly enough, ahead on gold at this point in time. Ahead on CS at this point in time. So really keeping up despite having that early pressure put down onto him. Haven't seen a return for the pressure in the top laners. Generally, we tend to see focus centered down towards that mid and bot lane area, rotating around that dragon as the game goes on. Top lane does become more of that island. But again, I'm really looking forward to see how these team fights pan out when we're coming towards this next dragon fight, because up in 4 seconds, you'd think that both teams want to put the priority down onto it.
Yeah, we see like mid laners and top laners, one alike, as we see double Rod of Ages on the side of Choke and double Athene's and Holy Grail. As we're to see now, the jungler for Choke is very, very far away. Lasagna's nowhere really near this, and I really feel like if they wanted to, it's going to be Dan going for his favorite minion in the jungle. He's going to go for that Scuttlebug, and a little bit of a misplay. I feel like they could have went for Dragon there.
Potentially Zodiac back, but they didn't have vision of Zodiac backing as Lasagna going aggressive.
Yeah, Lasagna goes aggressive. They get DX Alchemist. It's a good Monsoon to able to keep everything pretty damn safe. As we see now, Tundra getting 1v1 in that top lane. Numlocked able to bring that down. He's going to get pressure now on this top lane turret, and they've got Dragon pressure as well. This could be a huge swing for Choke.
Surely it will just be Dragon straight up for Choke here. They've got the pressure of Numlock still having teleport. They can easily put pressure down onto Dragon. And obviously a Zodiac though, very aggressive.
Yeah, it's very aggressive. DX Alchemist gets the first kill, but it's going to be Samwise picking up one on top of Zodiac. They've already started the Dragon. Shoot Up and Lasagna are the ones trying to tank that. Dan is down. Christo gets jumped on by Alchemist. That's a huge amount of burst on top of him. Here comes the TP though from Maokai. They're trying to get something. They're trying to see if they can get anything of this. Maokai comes in. The Dragon did go down in favor of Choke. Numlock isn't let this go while Tundra is in the back lane, but now he's completely by himself in no man's land. DX Alchemist needs to be so careful. Oh, they end up getting the kill on the Corgi, but they trade it back though, and Numlock is not finished just yet. He's trying to keep this going. The heal was used by Samwise to keep him alive. He's running out of mana though, so I don't think he's going to be able to sustain this poke, but in the end, Choke picked themselves up the Dragon.
So very, very scrappy. They had a big window of opportunity where they could have just grouped for that Dragon and taken it off the map, but obviously kills back and forth there. They were using DX to try and zone out on the backside, but Dan had backed, so there wasn't the pressure of an immediate Dragon Steal from the opposing smite. Maybe they were just waiting to make sure that they could keep Corki away, didn't want a freak missile barrage to pick it off. You'll see here, Alchemist doing his best in the backline to be a distraction, but there's no one really deciding to take that on Dragon. Lasagna gets it eventually, but there's a lot of damage already being done to the Choke lineup as Tundra comes through here. And look at the ultimate from Lasagna. Immediately, Tundra has no impact. The collateral damage comes down. If Alchemist had seen Tundra, I reckon he probably would have been able to rift walk over the wall. But again, still a win globally for Choke. They've got that Dragon buff now. They've caught up one apiece at this point in time, I believe. So both have that 8% AD and AP.
Yeah, and I think now that Christo isn't doing what we're all expecting to see from this LeBlanc. He really hasn't been any kind of impact at all.
Yeah.
It's just not working out.
You tend to pick LeBlanc if you want to be aggressive in lane and you want to shut down the opposing mid lane, as Lasagna doing some damage in the top lane to Tundra. But you genuinely tend to pick it to go aggressive and try and shut down your opposing lane member. Then you get ahead that the burst is so much that you just can't contend with it. You get burst so easily before team fights. Any 1 foot out of position, you have LeBlanc with the chains, with this Malice, all doing the damage that it needs to. But right now it's Alchemist with the burst, as it looks like an engage.
Yeah, it looks like an engage. They're going to focus on Zodiac. Soul Shackles go down. Will they be able to kill him off just before the proc comes down? DX Alchemist was angling himself with Lasagna to try do something there. They get themselves a nice pick, but we've said this time and time again, can they get something off this pick?
Yeah, they're going for this mid lane, and actually they're losing a lot of pressure on the top lane turret. So they picked off Zodiac, but what did they pick off Zodiac for? They're going to lose the top lane turret potentially. I think Numlock looking to use his minions to do his bidding and wait for that to go down.
Yeah, really going to let that just fall down. As we actually see Shoot Up, Samwise is going to try go for it, but it's going to be Christo trying to go, and he baits out the heal, get a kill onto Christo. That's a very nice pickup, but again, they need to pick up something from it. They need to snowball it. They need to do something, otherwise it's just not worth it.
The flat AP from Christo's needlessly large rod allowed him to get the immediate burst. You always knew Samwise was going to die under that turret as soon as you had a quarter health AD carry going up against a 4-person. But again, a little bit of a nice return. They're looking to get pressure on the bot lane turret, but again, this could be a return.
This could be a return. Ooh, fail ultimate there from Lasagna. Doesn't matter though. Samwise used his flash to try and get the kill. See Numlock putting pressure in this mid lane. Dan and Billy Fufu, not the greatest for trying to take down the super tank, but all the while, Tundra has been pushing down this top lane, and that's kind of what they needed to do. They just need to start making a bit more reactions to when they get these picks or when they see a choke moving down that bot lane.
Yeah, and that's the top lane turret down going for Tundra, so he has managed to pick up a return there for the pressure being tried to put exerted in the mid lane by Numlocked. However, Choke still in a bit of a command in this game. The gold lead not giant, but on 420 it's harder to gain these more decisive early gold leads because Dragon no longer provides that early gold.
Yeah, absolutely. We see 2 Rod of Ages nearly stacked over halfway for both the top laner and mid laner of Choke. Nothing really hugely scaling for FM as we wait to see exactly where they try to go. Chriso trying to go ham actually. Does get spell immune though by Zodiac's Black Shield as they start to farm up again. But DX Alchemist, he's just constantly going to be scaling off this. He's still getting big.
Still getting big, and he's actually, obviously we know he's about to chewed up himself, almost going to hit that spike with the static shifts too. You've got Alchemist, who's, like you said, picking up the parts of the Zhonya's now. He's going to have a little bit more defense on the back line of the Rod of Ages that is stacking up to, and a 4-2-2 on casting is something no one ever likes to see. That is a very brutal champion to go up against, especially when he has that head.
Yeah, he's trying to go in now. Black Shield popped on top of him, forces him to flash away. Zodiac gets the target again. They take him down. There's a good Monsoon by Billy Fufu. Keep his jungler Dan alive. But they're trying to go back on top of it. No Black Shield means Cassidy is going to get blocked up again. Nothing too crazy. Good pick, but they did burn quite a lot as Lasagna tries to go in again. He used the ultimate. They're still trying to kite back from this. Samwise is trying to put so much burst down. He gets jumped on by Numlock. They've seen him do ultimate use on top of Lasagna, trying to kill him off. He's still so close to Tundra, who's going to go down. LeBlanc goes in on the back end, ends up taking off one. Don't know if she can take off another one. Gets her passive block, but DX Alchemist, he's going to pop the barrier. Will he be able to get away with this? Yes, he will. It's going to be chewed up, taking up that kill as Numlock is trying to jump on the Billy Fufu. He should be able to get this kill for a team as DX Alchemist and chewed up come to decide who's going to get that. They should be able to take this one pretty easy.
Yeah, there wasn't actually enough mana for Alchemist to Rift Walk there because he'd stacked it up so far during that fight. But they do manage to get the final kill. A lot of pressure now going to be put down onto this mid lane turret with no one to defend against it. Definitely going to be a tower in favor of Choke. And these fights are looking even across the board, but you just see Choke getting these ever so slight advantages and then taking advantage of the fact that they've kind of won the team fight out. And again, potentially even another bit of damage on this mid lane tower. It's 2 towers going down here. Really big swing here for Choke.
Yeah, but a TP came in from Tundra. He tried to go around the back end, but I don't know if he really wants to go for this. They missed the Q from Lee Sin. They're going on Twisted Advance. They get the Black Shield down to Numlock, but it's not really the person to go. Chewed up, gets locked up. Tundra goes down, though. That's a good pickup by Choke. Very big misplay by FM, and you've got to feel like this Dragon is really uncontested.
Oh, Christo gets caught out here.
Oh, my Lord. He gets completely caught out, and they're going to jump straight onto Billy Fufu. This is just snowballing out of control right now. Void Walking. It's just, or not Void, sorry, DX Alchemist is just too big. They're not even going to go for the Dragon right now. They're just going to go straight down that mid lane, pick up an inhibitor, and you've got to feel like the momentum just completely shift in Choke's favor.
That could have been a close game, but then 2 minutes, I just don't know what happened. FM looking to make the aggressive play with the teleport from Tundra behind, and they just mentally threw that away. They didn't have the ultimate from Tundra. He only had it as he got engaged upon, so he couldn't make a decisive play with that ultimate as him being the main modality of the engagement. And as the Alchemist, they don't essentially going to lose his life, but gets away very nicely as chewed up. And Dan attempting to...
Oh, Dan, he actually gets chewed up completely down, but there comes another ultimate, knocked everybody back. DX Alchemist gets another kill onto Dan. They're trying to see if they can just chase them back, pick up a Dragon for themselves or something. As we see Tundra going down again, he is trying to feed to win. Lasagna eventually goes down to Samwise and Corky, but the fight isn't over yet. Monsoon News as everyone going in. Numlock is so healthy right now. DX Alchemist goes back in. Blanc goes down as well. They're still trying to go. Samwise is running out of mana. Good Dark Barney means that Lumlock and Zodiac should be able to get away from this. But again, overextending. These are desperation fights coming out from FM.
Yeah, FM really wanted to pick up something off the back of that. Obviously Alchemist was low for the majority of that fight, but he did not have the damage put down onto him. He managed to stay alive and even pick up a lot of damage and even a kill at the end of that. 7-3-6 on Castin right now. It was only a minute ago that he had 1 kill. The guy has picked up a monumental amount of kills in the last 10 minutes, 6 minutes of this game. Really crazy, but FM looking to react with an immediate Dragon. I think CHUDUP's got something to say about this.
Yeah,
Not sure he will be able to do anything.
Well, they might actually be, as here comes Numlock with the teleport. He's trying to jump on a Billy Fubu. There's the collateral damage, means he's going to take that. Good smoke screen as well, means a blue team are going to get the takeout, but Dan is going to go down. Samwise has the Valkyrie over the wall. Double kill for them, but they do lose out on the Dragon, but they should be able to regress from this. Lanes aren't exactly in their favor, though.
They went for the Dragon, but at what cost, Blood Penguin? It could be the cost of the giant purple minion on the other side of the map, as they are looking to move directly towards Baron.
Yeah, Baron would be the exact course of action. They are so far ahead right now, 8,000, just under 8,000 gold as they start to do this. CHUDUP, you do not want to be the one tanking up the Baron right now as they go for it. And actually, it's going to be Castle. DX Alchemist getting cut up. Tundra is still so weak right now. DX Alchemist might be able to turn this around, but I don't think he has the cooldown. They're jumping straight back out. Good ultimate there from Tundra. They're going to jump back on the Zodiac, but they don't mind, because while this is all happening, the Baron has been going down, and it's nearly dead. They should be able to trade this over. They trade 2 kills for the Baron. Now they know what's happening. Top turret did go down, though, in favor of FM. I don't know how this is going to happen. They may try and chase.
They're looking to chase. They don't want them to back. Actually going to return onto Billy Fufu here.
Yeah, Billy Fufu put a ward in a bit too late. Actually, he's going to be saved. Oh, what a kick there. CHUDUP is going to be the force there. Force to heal, forces everybody else. He's still alive, though. Numlock doing so much damage. They're forcing flashes from everybody there. Sandwich, and here comes Lasagna. Lasagna's damage is so much right now. He kept CHUDUP alive. He was able to keep them going, and they turned that fight right around.
Numlock just there, tanking the damage, and there is so much damage. This is basically a 3v5. Look at that kick. It was beautiful. It kept Billy Fufu alive, but CHUDUP with the heal right there and kites away with the quick draw, and the crits coming out right now. Numlock's in the front line. This was basically a 3v5 by Choke Gaming, and honestly, I just don't see them going down from here.
Yeah, and there's a dead body, a sad sight really when you look at it. Just absolutely, it's FM's hopes and dreams lying dead on the ground, but they have small little glimmers. If they can get a decent fight, they have got pretty strong turret pushing potential, in the sense that Cork can get those procs off his Trinity Force and keep going. He's also got a Blade of the Ruined King, but Tundra is on 2 and 8. Lysandra has not been going well for him.
He had a lot of pressure put down into it early, and obviously that's affected the way he's looked to play the rest of the game. Been a little bit more scared, had to play a little bit more scared in lane, and he's struggled to make the impact that we know he can have. He's not a big tanky frontliner. His mistakes will be punished a little bit more, and we've been seeing it. He's been trying to make the aggressive plays and trying to use his ultimate effectively, but every time he steps a foot out of line, Numlock is there, CHUDUP is there, they're putting the damage down and really punishing him, and it's just really struggled this game, and to be honest, Choke are running away with this right now.
Yeah, they really are. Dang it. Oh my god, that
word.
crit. He gets absolutely decimated, completely deleted from the map. They try to go back in. Valkyrie comes in. Numlock, he's got his catalyst pack going off. He's going to be able to sustain up, but that was just insane damage from CHUDUP.
I don't know what he was thinking. There was no vision. He had, I mean, what makes him think he can solo the Graves anyway? I mean, he was going to go down to the guy who is 8, 2, and 5 with all of those items on the board, and Dan just making an interesting play. I say interesting, I mean bad. I just don't know what was going on there.
Really not quite sure what was going on through his head. I suppose he had a little bit of Lee syndrome, where he made a decent play the last time. It did get punished, but they nearly turned it around. And honestly, he even knew that Morgana was there, so he knew the Black Shield was going to be used to nullify his kick. So I'm not quite sure what was his tactic, but as we see now, Choke starting to siege down this bot lane turret. FM have to give this up, and honestly, I don't even think they can defend their inhibitor as Lasagna is pushing onto the Nexus turrets.
Just backdooring by himself, and look at the reaction. They're trying to take him down, but they've just exposed their bot lane right now. Lasagna could potentially even 1v3 at this point. This is not looking good for FM Gaming.
No, it really is. And they jump on the Samwise. Numlock can 1v5, and I think he wants to as well. Get that KDA going up even further. He jumps back in. Oh! He gets the kill onto LeBlanc. Lee Sin is going to be going down. FM really not looking strong, nearly looking in desperate measures. There's the Zanyas, and the Zanyas! They're trying to keep doing it, but it's not going to be enough. He flashes away, he used the barrier. It's going to be Janna going down. Still Chuckles tries to lock up Samwise, but it's not going to be enough. Everyone just jumping onto this inhibitor. You've got to feel with super minions coming through the mid lane, everyone's going to try and get these Nexus turrets. It's pretty much game for Choke.
May not be game just yet, but it's definitely looking that way. The respawn time is coming up. They've got approximately 10 seconds before a lot of burst damage comes back on the board, but they don't care. They're going on to Samwise. He goes down. They're going to go for the Nexus turrets. This could be game.
This is game, and as you see the Nexus turrets going down, I don't think Dan has anything to do with it. He tried a good kick, though. He's actually going to take on. Morgana did go down to LeBlanc, but again, there's just too much lockdown, too much happening, and it's going to be the Nexus going down. Choke win this grand final 3-1. They are the grand finalists, and I can't even think. I'm just completely bonkers at how those fights turned around.
Unbelievable. They turned up the pressure when it mattered. Choke Gaming coming out victorious 3-1. They are your Four Nations champions. They are the best in the UK and Ireland right now. I cannot explain how brilliant their plays have been across this weekend. That game that they dropped, probably one of the first we've seen them drop for a very long time. FM had to pull something special out of the bag. They did, but they couldn't do it again. And right now, Choke deservedly the winners.
Yeah, absolutely. They played exceptionally well. They took advantages when they saw them, and even little things we saw from FM, like as we say, Dan smiting the scuttler in the middle of range of everybody, knowing the dragon was up, knowing Pantheon was looking to go for a dragon. It's those small things that pretty much, you know, kind of stack up between, you know, the best teams and the great teams. You know, kind of way. So it's just something like that they need to work on. And fantastic, nothing to take away from Choke. They did what they had to do. They were unbelievable. It
was just so good, and honestly, props to them, because they have performed consistently time and time again. They have never really been under the hammer. They've never really felt the pressure. FM tried, and they had a really, really good job of it. But honestly, Choke deserved it, and Choke took it. Yeah, and absolutely. Commiserations to FM Esports, and congratulations to the Four Nations champions, Choke Gaming. I think Yuka is over in the play area over there. They're just going to send it straight over to Yuka with the players. Oh, no, I think we're actually cutting to the analyst desk. Oh, we're cutting to the analyst desk. Then, apologies. Straight over to you, Panky.
Thanks very much, guys. And again, congratulations to Choke Gaming on a convincing victory. Let's dive straight into it, guys, because first thing out of the gate, Lasagna was a monster in that game. His Xin Shao, so much pressure.
Absolutely huge. He had all of that early aggression. Actually, something that Stress pointed out to us while we were analysing the game, he went for early mobility boots. He didn't even get his range as Trailblazers, which is what we see on most junglers these days. Went all out for that aggression, went back onto Tundra in the top lane, managed to pick up a couple of early kills there, and then was unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, he got the mobbies. He didn't even get the Trailblazers yet, as Sona mentioned. He got forced back away from his blue, though, and then he got the mobbies to get back into the action as soon as he could, and he went straight back to the top lane because he knew Tundra didn't have flash, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah, Tundra, we saw it before. He's focused top. He's got lots of champions in his pool. And again, there could have been a lot better picks for him. Lissandra just didn't seem to really work out, especially that first blood was sloppy play. No mana staying that far up lane, and he just used his claw as well. It's really unlike him, if I'm completely honest. Not what we've seen from the rest of the tournament. But after they shut Tundra down, after they got that Maokai rolling, which led to a zero-death game, I'd say, mid lane was where Choke turned their focus to next.
It definitely was. I mean, I was really interested to see LeBlanc get let through after being banned out in the first 3 games by Choke. I did wonder why they kept banning out that LeBlanc against Chris, and we saw Alchemist can deal with it. Like, they didn't have any problem shutting down that LeBlanc early game. He didn't get much damage. There wasn't much magic resist even have to be picked up by Choke. So I don't understand why they didn't leave it open earlier on and just ban out other champions. They did a lot of good pressure onto it, and of course with Lasagna getting the early kills, it meant they could push down onto him a little bit more. But I just think this was Choke showing why they are the dominant force in UK esports at the moment.
And picking up from that, as Sona mentioned, they previously always banned LeBlanc out, and I was curious, like, why are they banning us out? What are they afraid of? And then when I finally see them let this through, I was just thinking, okay, well, let's see how this is gonna play out. How does FM take advantage of the LeBlanc? But Choke played it so well. They abused. I mean, sorry, LeBlanc has her strengths in the early, and they just camped the mid lane, basically. There's so much pressure within the mid lane from Xin and Kassadin, and they didn't give LeBlanc a chance to snowball, and she's a snowball champ. If she doesn't get kills, she goes behind, and she went for an Athens first. That's not damage. She didn't have the damage right there to even do her job, which is to 0 to 100 someone.
I want to give a little bit of credit to Choke's bottom lane here too. So in the previous few games, we saw non-stop pressure and action down bottom, and we saw FM able to pick up quite a few kills and to start that ball rolling. This time round, with Dan putting so much of his pressure onto, with Lasagna putting so much of his pressure onto top and onto middle instead, Choke's bottom lane was left kind of unattended. And while FM still tried to apply all this pressure, nothing really came from it.
I think you just have to give credit to Chewed Up and Zodiac, as you said. They are very good bot lane. They're very strong. They came through semi-finals with a KDA of 43. Like, they're incredibly good as a bot lane.
It was Zodiac on his Morgana too, which is exactly what we said in the first game.
Yeah, they play really well together. They play a lot of Dooku together. It's just the synergy. I mean, sometimes when you saw Zodiac roam mid lane just to help out all that action happening in the mid lane, but he knew it was safe to. He told he told Chewed that, okay, I'm going to go mid. Can you play safe? And you saw him back off. Or they push out and then he goes back. And that gives an opportunity for Morgana, Zodiac, to roam to the mid lane just to release the pressure because there were constant 2v2s there. And he made it a 3v2.
When we look at the FM picks as well, they had a very magic-heavy composition. They came up against Maokai, who of course loves that damage reduction and is great against magic-heavy teams. Was that really a compound factor in their loss? Or was it more down to their playstyle?
I think Numlock, you have to look at Numlock for one of the reasons that Choke won this game. He was grouped, he didn't die at all in the entire game. And also the fact that Lasagna got a few early kills meant that he could rush an Aegis, which really helped them out. Against 3 magic damage dealers, along with, you've got LeBlanc, you've got Janna who does a little bit of magic damage as well, and then the Corki and the Lissandra as well. Getting that early Aegis is so strong. And the Vengeful Maelstrom, as you said, Panky, just getting that AoE damage reduction really helps you out if you're going against an AP heavy team.
And I think that's one of the downsides to FM's comp this game. They had so much focus on the magic damage. They had Lissandra top lane, they had LeBlanc in the mid lane, and they had Corki. Corki is usually a pick you choose when you choose, for example, an AD mid, or maybe even an AD top or jungle, and you want to add some magic damage in there, because Corki does mixed damage, obviously, so it makes it hard to itemize against it. And with 3 AP champions, or technically somewhat free, it just means it's easier for Choke Gaming to itemize. You saw it, Zin built the Aegis, and then you saw Maokai go into the Banshees, and to counter LeBlanc, your whole team just gets the Banshees pretty much, and she does nothing she can't really insta-gib anyone if she catches them out, because there's a Banshees and you have to break through that before even getting your combo off.
And we saw, and it paid off, and Choke came out with a win. So that's enough babbling from us. That's enough for everyone here in the studio. So thank you to Blood Penguin, Ixscoundrel, Stress, Pulse, Sona, Strike, and myself. We're now going to head back over to the studio.